Good afternoon. How are you today? Well, I didn't know if I had time to talk, but I'm really annoyed about the Roe v. Wade situation. And I have a couple of thoughts on that I'd like to share so you can think about it, see if you agree with me. And it goes like this. Uh, the Republicans have decided not to talk about the content of the draft opinion. And the content of the draft opinion on Roe v. Wade, on the current case that they're looking at, is that that precedent means nothing. Now, each of the justices who apparently are associated with this draft told senators and swore under oath that they respected precedent and that the precedent for Roe v. Wade was settled, and that they, in essence, whatever they thought privately or would personally prefer, they had to recognize that as a matter of law. Then they got on the court, and we all said that they were hacks and they were chosen to go to the court because they had a contract, and the contract was they were going to deliver on Roe v. Wade. So we have a situation in which the right of a woman to have dominion over herself, decided about 50 years ago, and assented to by the justices who just signed a draft opinion, to respect that precedent, and then to write an opinion without any support that directly contradicts it. So of course they don't want to talk about the opinion, they want to talk about the leak. But here's the thing about this, and I go back to the 60s thinking about this, and it goes like this. How do you handle the following ethical situation? The government does something unlawful. If by definition precedent is the law, and you just dismiss it in violation of your oath and of the case law by which we recognize by stare decisis what was decided before, then how do we as a people deal with that? Okay, let me have another example for you. I often cite this for a different reason. And the different reason is, how do we stand in a nation that doesn't respect law or the Constitution? And it's the conversation that Sir Thomas More has with his son-in-law. And the son-in-law is saying to Thomas More, the equivalent of Henry VIII has created an Anglican church so that he can have a queen to give him an heir that the Roman Catholic Church won't recognize. And Henry VIII had been the defensor fidei of the Roman Catholic Church. But now it was inconvenient to him, and so he throws over that canon law and he creates a church that will allow him to have a queen. Now, Sir Thomas More was a very serious Catholic, and Henry VIII wanted people to swear allegiance to Henry as the head of the church and everything. And Sir Thomas More remained silent. And his son-in-law came to him and said, how could you do this? I think we have to tear down the law, all the laws of the land. And Sir Thomas More says, and if you were to do that and you're just the one, and you tear down all the laws in the land, how could we stand in the wind that would blow? Now, Thomas More was half right, because how do you adjust to the wrong act of a king to arrive at a position that violated everything that Henry had stood for until he needed a queen? How's that apply here? How do we react when a Supreme Court justice, working with others for a majority view, contradict the law to take the power away from a woman, all women, the woman? And that is what's happening here. Oh yes, it's about abortion, but it's about a lot more than that. It is saying that we have the autocratic power on the court to decide what the law is, notwithstanding the fact that there was a strong line of argument and precedent that justified the decisions involving contraceptives before Roe v. Wade, which said that a woman had a right of dominion over her body. So what can one ethically do to counter such an opinion that is drafted in February and wasn't going to be made public until probably June? Someone decided that the response to that unethical act was to release the opinion so that Sunlight could consider what that meant in America, where though it's not required or necessary, a majority of Americans are concerned about the right of a woman to have dominion over her body, to have control. But there are members of this Supreme Court who got there, who are Federalists, just as was true of Hamilton, who have always felt more comfortable with a monarch. Go back and read what Adams was like. And so that's what we have today, a straight line from Hamilton to these current Federalists, to the attempted coup that failed, to the Supreme Court making a decision to limit the power and access of women to abortion, but to much more than that, to make them second-class citizens, to make them subject as slaves to what this court and these Federalists would want. And they'd like this to pass without us paying attention to it, so they want to make it about chasing down whoever released the opinion that has made manifest this attack on women, this attack on Roe v. Wade, this attack on what precedent means as a law in America. So I just had to say that tonight. Holly had a tough morning, but she came back and worked hard in the afternoon. And this is the way of recovering from this amazing, impossible to consider operation that she had, transplanting lungs into her body. So I was with her today, and she's of good spirits, and she's a fighter. And I'm telling you, you have to be for this operation. There's no other way. So again, thank you for your thoughts and so forth. But don't be fooled by the public debate about this BS argument about who released it. And Cruz is a good example of it. You know, here's a guy who clerked on the Supreme Court. He knows he's talking nonsense. And interestingly, there was another leak years ago when the first decision, Roe v. Wade, was made. What was the objective of it? I don't know. But it's made women who they are in the sense of who they always should have been and have been respected for. That is independent women with power and access. And that's one of the reasons I supported Hillary Clinton. I've never had any regrets, and I wish she'd become president. We wouldn't be where we are today. All the best. Have a good evening. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.